One thing that actually popped out to me early on was it was a submarine game.
Multiplayer, co-op.
In the future on Europa.
Chaotic sandbox.
With clowns and
aliens.
Unexpected situations and
tomfoolery.
Oh boy.
Game idea sort of was born from my love for these games like Dwarf Fortress or Space Station 13, where sort of nothing is scripted and everything like emerges from the game mechanics. It just opens up the possibilities so much more. Like there's basically no limit what you can turn the game into. It was probably around 2016 or something along those lines when I released like the first public playable version of the game. It wasn't really that playable, but some people tried it and some of them apparently even enjoyed it. Yeah, Barotrauma was just like something I worked in the evenings after school. I found this local game studio called Fakefish and applied for an internship there.
As a portfolio, you had the SCP Containment Breach, so game that had like millions of downloads. It was a free game, but you know, still we were like, shit, who is this guy? we have to get him in, and there was already like community, like people were discussing about it. There was like some videos in YouTube, and we were like, wait a sec, like what is what is this?
When it started off, Aku had me take a look at the build, a very, very early build, and I remember like taking a look at it over a weekend and being completely confounded by it. It took a few moments for it all to sink in, but once I started to understand it, I thought this is going to be so cool to work on.
Role-playing fits Barotrauma, like naturally. You have your role on the submarine, and what you do like gives rise to stories and events.
You're allowed to have this fun failure space, but it's not just failure, it's also sabotage. And giving that opportunity to the player is just like something that just made sense, and we tried to keep this throughout the entire game, like letting players make good decisions or bad decisions and not policing them too much.
Yeah, playing a security officer tends to bring out the worst in people. A big part of the game is how the players' actions cause problems, like someone accidentally does something wrong with some device, or tasking one player on purpose sabotage the other crew. Like sort of like a clever traitor player can be like a much more interesting enemy than like an AI-controlled monster.
I think we've fleshed out the universe of Barotrauma pretty well. If it looks like someone's nightmare, all the better. When designing monsters, we usually go gameplay first. From there, we make a rough sketch or several sketches of possible monsters, and then we prototype it, and I get to do the graphics, which is probably not as profound as you would think. A lot of it is just how to make it ickier, you know, adding more teeth, tentacles, and the notorious mystery sack. Wilma told me to say that. Apparently it's a meme now. We're trying to make the game as fun as possible. And if we fail, the gamers are willing to let us know.
We have wanted to keep Barotrauma as moddable as possible, and that like means that we want to make like all of the tools that we use to develop the game available to the modders, and made like the whole source code of the game available as well. So it like really means that a modder can do anything that we can do. They have access to everything.
Community mods have been a source of inspiration for us, and some of the stuff they put out is very, very cool. And we kind of have tried to match that in our own efforts.
It certainly helped that we've had a really good relationship with our community from day one. I remember we had a lot of ambitions and dreams and a big list of crazy ideas. And I thought, you know, if we could get 10% of those, then we'd be okay. And I think we got a bit more than 10%.
Yeah. I've heard that the original inspiration for the endgame was like a fever dream.
Yeah, so I had a sweaty fever dream with the flu that basically gave birth to the entire endgame sequence. I just remember I recounted it sort of over the kitchen table one day at the office, just kind of randomly, and as we were talking about it, it sort of occurred to us that was something cool that might fit into the lore of the game and make for a really interesting way to wrap up the game.
We have been developing the game quite long time now, and we need to kind of like get ourselves in the point where we can say like, this is sort of ready game. That's quite scary to say loud, but I think that's what the game needs.
With the 1.0 release, we have been really fleshing out the campaign mode, but there's some other game modes in the game that haven't gotten that much love in recent years that we could still flesh out a bit more in the future. Even though we are moving from early access to 1.0, there's still a lot of stuff that I would like to do, a lot of stuff to add to the game and things to improve, and there's definitely still going to be some updates and more content.